Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. By my time here is 5 p.m. Can someone confirm if you can hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. I can hear you.
Oh, that's brilliant. So this class is slated for 5 p.m. Nigerian time, and it's 5 p.m. by my time here. And so before the class begins, please note this, that anytime, nobody is new in this class again. Anytime you enter the class, mute your mic and mute your camera so that we don't have unnecessary interference, please. And then ensure that you drop your name in the attendance by writing your name and your political party in the chat box. So I'm checking if our facilitator is in class so I can take his profile. But why we hope that he joins us soon, because I have not seen him yet. The topic we are going to handle today is communication. It's a topic that is very dear to all of us. Dear because communication does not only happen in your citizenship engagements alone. In your private life also, you have communication. So it's a topic that I will enjoin everybody to pay very good attention so you can enjoy the discussion. So I will go ahead to take the introduction of the facilitator for today, why we hope that he joins us very, very soon. And so the person to take us for today's class is no other person than Mr. Kelvin Akuje. He's the one to take us on this topic, communication in politics. Mr. Kelvin Akuje is a brand engagement consultant, politician, public speaker, security commentator, social analyst, and a serial media pioneer. He ran for a seat in the National Assembly to represent Kogi East Senatorial District in 2019 elections. He is also the country director for SDG Radio and the founder of Climate Action Nigeria. He is a University of Abuja alumni and a prestigious class of 1996 at the Nigerian Defense Academy, where he trained as a master in defense and strategic studies, an avid martial arts enthusiast and climate reality leader, and an alternate dispute resolution practitioner. He is a member, Board of Trustees, Electoral College, Nigeria. Kelvin was born into a family of 4 siblings in total. He is a Catholic and married with 2 kids. That's about the introduction for our facilitator for this evening. My name is Soyore Justin. I am your moderator for this class. Once again, like I say, welcome everybody to class. Welcome students. If you have not signed your name, ensure you sign your name with your class while we engage the facilitator to take us through the journey of communication this evening. My I don't know if you guys heard me when I took the profile of our facilitator this evening. I noticed my mic was mute.
We heard you. Good evening.
I heard you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Trying to check if he's in class so we can call him on stage. Please. All right, I can incite a facilitator for this evening in class. So exercise some patience as we bring him on stage to deliver his lecture. Mr. Kevin Akuje, if you can hear me, sir, I've taken your introduction and the students are waiting for your delivery.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Okay. So I presume we have all the we're all together on the slide.
Thank you.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do now. All right. Go ahead, sir.
I'll start my video for a few before I'll switch up. So good evening, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be amongst you all to share knowledge on literacy and governance, and especially for this class, communication in politics. As my introduction went, there's no much fanfare here, but we are going to have a discourse, and I pray you all have your jotters and are ready to join the movement. Simple and short. I don't know if you have the slides with you. Were the slides shared, please? Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, sir.
Were the slides shared? I'm asking a question.
Students.
Or I'm reading alone?
No, I think the slide is about being shared, sir.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so communication in politics. As it sounds, communication exists in every sphere of influence of life. And so it could be both verbal and non-verbal, as the case may be. But for us in this class, the Electoral College class, we're talking about communication in politics, drawing from the means in which people access power, the means in which people use power, the means in which people wield power. Those are the perspectives in which we'll be coming on. Do we have? You can see your. Hello. Can we place the slides?
I think there's an attempt to share the slide, but it has not come on fully.
Okay. Okay, I'll just proceed. I guess we'll be all understand each other.
Oh, that's fine, sir.
So the first comment we always have to understand, especially in the year 2024, is the fact that the internet never forgets. This basic statement calls to responsibility all activities that individuals do on the World Wide Web with regards to information dissemination, information publishing, or whether you are a team or you're amongst a team that publishes information that people get to consume daily. And so now that you know that the internet never forgets, the next is the people will always remember. And so we find ourselves in situations whereby an issue will happen, or someone might come and assume a position today and takes a stand. And the first thing you see is that people are pulling out screenshots saying, what happened? This man, this was his position before now. How come presently this is how he's now acting in power, or while in power, or while in service? So before you think that you can get scot-free, remember the people, always remember. Then the next question we need to ask is, who are these people that we're even making reference to? Let's not beat around the bush. We are talking about a political class. And so in this case, we'll be talking about everybody actively in the communication process. Communication process, I'll define it later. And then for us, we are talking about individuals who are taking part in government, people who are election management bodies, people who occupy a particular polity, in our own case, Nigeria, people who are franchised to vote or be voted for in a particular demographic area or in a particular constituency. And we know in Nigeria, our constituency is divided into ward, local government, states, and then the national. So that is the way in which our political delineation has been done. And in the states, we have, as usual, north, south, east, west, as the case may be. And then from there, we have the 6 geopolitical zones. And the 6 geopolitical zones, in each of the states, you have east, west, and some cases north and south for the senatorial districts in each of the states. So these are the basic delineations of who the people are with regards to our conversation in communication in politics. So now we go to a definition, trying to understand what exactly is politics, or what exactly is communication in politics. First of all, in trying to understand that, it goes through a pattern in which you have to think about the process of becoming or not becoming. And so in trying to do that, you tend to have ideation on trying to indeed understand what is psychology. And so why we always like to just have a brief touch about psychology is because your psyche or your state of mind affects how you communicate, or affects how you express behavioral patterns, affects how you consume ideas or process information. And so in a broad perspective, just trying to define what psychology is. Psychology is a scientific study of mind and behavior. Psychology includes the study of conscious and unconscious phenomena, including feelings and thoughts. It is an academic discipline of immense scope, crossing the boundaries between the natural and social sciences. So against the backdrop of this, we know that something controls the conscious and the unconscious phenomena, how we feel and how we think. And so while you have that at the back of your mind, let's go back to communication and political science as the case we have here. It's communication in politics basically is a subfield of communication and political science that is concerned largely with how information spreads, how information influences politics, how information influences policymakers, how information influences the news media, and how information influences citizens. I always love to draw from the definition of power by Harold Laswell when he says power refers to he who gets what, when, and how. That was Harold Laswell's definition of power. And so in trying to draw a line from there to define political communication, we say political communication refers to he who says what to whom, when, where, and with which medium. I repeat, political communication refers to he who says what to whom, when, where, and with which medium. And so when we say he who says what, refers to the people, whether you're franchised to vote or be voted for, or you are disenfranchised via age or demography, or you have not received your voter's card, or you've not collected the voter's card. So that's about conversation of he who says what is a broad spectrum. To whom? To whom is simplified is to the constituents, because you will not be singing to the gallery. Anybody that is running for office in the FCT will not go and be campaigning in Kano State. Neither will the person be campaigning in Cross River. The person will definitely be campaigning in the FCT. When the particular time of that campaign, and because we're discussing not just only traditional means of communication in this class, we'll be talking about conventional means of communication, which takes us into digital marketing, digital communication trends, and what have you. And so the when is what particular time, where, which location. Is it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? Is it in the village square? Is it in the what we call it, a forum in which has been called upon for conversations? Is it via emails? Is the political office holder or the election management body doing jingles for you to consume on the radio? So that takes us to the medium in which you'll be able to consume this information. And so the conventional ones that we all know is radio, TV, traditional medium, which is town criers, that the case may be. Then we look at the digital mediums, social media, websites, and then we'll also be exploring not just political communication, we'll also be exploring the various channels and means in which the electorate communicates with persons occupying political office. And then we'll also be looking into the intricacies of, or the advantages or disadvantages of strategic communication. And so, in talking about strategic communication, if I may just push by virtue of a departure, the core of strategic communication is controlling the narrative. And the moment you lose control of the narrative, people have the opportunity to create an idea or to create a perception of who you are, what you are, and what you stand for. As such, if you do not want to run the risk of being understood amiss, you have a core duty and sole responsibility to project your personality, your person, your party, the country, the election management body, what they stand for everybody to know. And based on that perception, you move on. And so we move to the different mediums. Like I said, in trying to understand political communication, which is he who says what to whom, when, where, and with what effect, we need to know that the primary concern of our conversation is responsiveness and engagement. Hence our need to understand a measure of what we call psychology, which I defined earlier, which talks about innate actions, activities, modalities, response level to actions, or the lack of it, as the case may be. So if we're on the same slides, we're still on political communication. So we understand now by summary that we are discussing political communication drawing from he who says what, to whom, how, when, and what effect from the definition of Harold Laswell. So we talked about mediums. Earlier on, we talked about traditional mediums, and I know that we are all too well advanced in traditional medium, newspapers, television, radio, town criers, town hall meetings, flyers, as the case may be, or leaflets, or IEC materials, or behavioral chain of communication materials. We are used to all of this as traditional means of information being spread. Remember, in the Electoral College, part of our activities is to ensure that we arm you with tools to be able to understand how to project your personality should you want to run for office. Present you with tools that will arm you with the skills. Should you not be running for office, let it not be said that someone that is running for office comes and bamboozles you with information that he or she lacks merit to publish or own up to. And then, based on that deception or seduction, as the case may be, you take an and then be the best ambassadors out there with regards to conversations around literacy and government. I hope can we all hear me? So being that we all understand the traditional means of conversations or communication, and those are largely dependent on the policies and corporate governance platforms of those particular platforms. So if you say TV, NTA, AIT, newsreel channels, etc., should you want to put out a publication, if it's 10 minutes, you pay 1 million. If it's 20 minutes, you pay 20 million, as the case may be. So you now know to say, okay, you need to cut your coat according to your cloth, or what exactly is your budget for your political campaign, or what is the budget for communication as an electoral management body, that's INEC, or what's the budget for communication as the Ministry of Information with regards to voter education, or the National Orientation Agency with regards to citizens' participation, citizen engagement and responsiveness. So being that those are largely information or platforms that are not strictly in your hands, we will not want to dwell so much in it. Let's build the conversation on he who says what to whom, when, and what effect from the digital communication perspective, where you actually stand to control the narrative yourself directly. And so we talk about the website. Largely, a website refers to a platform in which you engage or put out information on the World Wide Web, as the case may be. And then in engaging on the World Wide Web, you need to know that your website needs to be secure. Recently, we had unconfirmed information that a financial giant had her website overtaken by hackers. So this is just a simple illustration. If that was what happened, or that is not what happened, but this is just a simple illustration of what happens when, or what happens when your website is not secure and prone to attack. And then also, whatever it is you're doing, whatever engagements you're doing on the web, you're always advised that you should make sure you check that the website has the S in the HTTP to ensure that the website you are visiting is secure. And so we go to election management body, individuals that want to run for office, concerned citizens of Nigeria, office of the citizen. If you are going to open a website of any reason to be able to express information to people, to wield power, to control the narrative, you need to make sure that for start, the website address is not ambiguous. And so it is not strange that we will see Nigeria's INEC to be inecnigeria.gov or .ng or .org. Why? Because imagine if they had written www.Independent National Electoral Commission. Even in trying to type out that particular URL address, you would have made mistakes either in 2 or 3 letters, and that already will send you into frustration. So you need to make sure that whatever URL address you're using is not ambiguous, but easy to remember, easy to use, easy to access, and user-friendly. And so if you are running for office, take for instance, you are running for Senate. I love to use my acronym for my URL address when I ran for office in 2019. It was simply Akoje for Senate.ng. Simple and short. It's not ambiguous. It embodies what you want to do. And then now you go into the body of the website. Do not waste time to showcase your pledge. Should you be running for a legislative office, or your manifesto, should you be running for an executive office? Notice that I use 2 different languages. A legislative officer is to come and propose bills and oversight functions, and not to come and promise people that I will give you electricity, I will tar this road from Lagos to Ibadan. No, they are strictly meant to create laws, review laws, ensure laws that are obsolete are reviewed, and oversight functions on ministries, departments, agencies, and what have you. So you need to understand the two. And so I do not expect you to have run through the electoral colleges class on politics and governance, and then you are running for a state House of Assembly position or a position in the National Assembly, in the House of Representatives, or in the House of Senate, and the first thing I see is your manifesto, or you are trying to project an information that says you do or you have power to do particular jobs that you do not. Remember, in Nigeria, unfortunately for us, we have an anomaly that is being used in our political environment, which is what they call constituency funding, constituency project. So we'll call a spade and what it is. We are still yet to mature in our democracy. As such, when someone says he's a legislative officer and his just duty is just to do laws, review bills, it seems as if he does not have power or willpower. And so Nigeria did the anomaly by creating what they call constituency funding to give these legal officers, these legislative officers, some money to indeed carry themselves to their location and their constituency and now say, okay, see, I've been given the sum of 5,000 naira for constituency funding. And with this 5,000 naira, I will tar the road from this local government to this local government. I will do 3 schools. Those are actually executive functions. But in us trying to understand and manage our democracy as we deem fit and as we seem to understand, those anomalies have now been brought to bear in our environment. So let's go back to our website. The content on your website needs to be precise, unambiguous, and straight to the point. If you are running for a position in a senatorial district, the information there should be the information of that senatorial district, whether the population, how many local governments, how many wards make up those local governments, what is the population of the area, who are the people of voting age, and what have you. And then if you are running for office, you are using those tools to see how you can plan your campaign movements or how you can share information to be able to sway individuals to your camp. Remember, the art of political communication, to some extent, draws in line with the art of seduction because you are trying to indeed sway somebody's idea of a particular reality to the one you want to do, in this case, controlling the narrative. Search engine optimization, that draws in from whoever builds your website to ensure that your landing page is in order, you have a functional phone number, a morally or a beautifully built website with a good array of colors, lines, rules, and what have you, such that whenever people search, it comes up in the first 4 pages or in the first page, as the case may be, of the search engine. We all know that we Nigerians were very wicked. Anything that does not appear in the first search engine of any search engine, if it's in the fourth page, then so be it. Your information will die there because Nigerians don't like stress. Same with when you are posting content on Twitter and you drop an Instagram link on Twitter, expecting somebody to click that link and go to Instagram, when you know that the person that is on Twitter knows why he's sitting down on Twitter and consuming content there. He did not want to open Instagram, hence him being on that particular medium. But that's conversation for another day. Same with adverts and promotions. If you notice presently now, we have means in which you open websites and you see pop-up ads. So you now need to understand that if at all you're going to engage in web adverts, you need to ensure that those web adverts will pop up in a particular demographic, or it will pop up in websites that you know that the kind of persons that will vote for you are there. So let's say a popular blog that everybody goes to view has content there. You might as well drop your campaign poster for presidency for Nigeria there, because you know that a whole lot of persons of adult age will be able to consume the content from that particular website. Then we go to mass mediums, different types of mass mediums. What are different types of mass mediums? We mentioned them earlier, conventional and digital. And then the importance of media cannot be overemphasized, because these are the only ways in which presently you can showcase information and strive to control the narrative, regardless of the subject in which you are trying to push or the agenda in which you are trying to portray. Like I spoke earlier, we'll be sticking to digital mediums, which is easier to use and manage. Luckily for us, the type of phones that are sold in West Africa and largely in the tropics are devices that are already pre-installed with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, in some cases, WhatsApp and YouTube. And luckily, again, for us, we're living in a time where the owner of WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram is the same company. And so integration across those three platforms are now rather seamless. So it behoves on you to learn how to be able to exploit those platforms so you don't need to have yourself posting on each of them consistently. So if you create your WhatsApp profile and you link your Facebook, whatever WhatsApp status you are dumping on your WhatsApp status profile automatically dumps on your Facebook status. And so that's what we call the integration. Same with if you are using a Facebook page and you post content on your Facebook page and you link your Instagram account, it automatically cross-posts that same content to Facebook. And so it saves you time, energy, and resources as the case may be. But what do we call social media? Basically, computer-mediated technologies that make ease for creation and sharing of content with the internet at its backbone. And then there are platforms in which information can be retrieved offline. In these cases, there are platforms in which knowledge-based articles have been preloaded. So all you just need to do is either download an app or download a software, and you can be able to access resources both online and offline or whatever time you seek the information. Presently in 2024, the list of platforms on social media are inexhaustive. And so if I tell you we only have 24 mediums, I'll be lying to you because I'm only referring to from the point of information that I have. And so, which might not be sufficient. So we have multiple mediums, but we basically want to let's put them in specific categories. We have platforms for networking, platforms for blogging, platforms for video sharing, platforms for photo sharing, and then microblogging. Microblogging always sounds very funny because Twitter is actually not seen as it's largely seen as a website. Let me use that language. And so that's why it's defined as a microblog. So for networking, we have Facebook, Google Plus, LinkedIn. You can fill in the gap with some others. For blogging, we all have the famous WordPress, movable type, Blogger, where you go and you create a page, and from that page you can now post information that people can come and read on a particular domain. Then video sharing platforms. So you see, even what we have here in the presentation is not even exhaustive because we just have video, Vimeo, and YouTube. But now I'm sure we are all no longer strange to TikTok, its importance, its use, and how interestingly people have been able to drive conversations and campaigns using the platform TikTok. Next is picture sharing platforms. Picture sharing platforms have even become more complicated so that you can now even put an overlay of sound or video on your picture, or you can animate your picture such that it even looks like a motion picture. So platforms like Facebook, you can post a picture and select a song that will appear on the background, and then it now looks as though it's a video. But this are what technology has to offer that we need to understand and then exploit as the case may be. In political communication, when I say we do not want to have conversation amiss, is because in a loose sense of the word, political communication is basically an act in a marketplace. Marketplace in the sense that there's a whole lot of activities taking place there. There are a whole lot of actors, all of them trying to sway people to come and buy their own material, regardless of the price. And so you can be on a particular line where they sell meat, and one person's own meat is cheap, one is more expensive, one is relatively cheap, and one is completely cheap. All of these people are running based on internal dynamics in their systems, which you will not find out until you engage that particular system, which is why we talked about earlier that political communication basically is drawing from responsiveness and engagement in trying to understand the value in which you bring to controlling the narrative, or in trying to understand yourself, understand your quality in case Nigeria, understand the activities of the election management body, INEC, and I didn't understand the information being shared by candidates or people who are applying to run for office, as the case may be. And so you see things like promotion, selling, people are offering themselves for service. You see people are researching to say, okay, this particular local government, how many men are there? How many women are there? How many families? What are the age range between 5 to 7, 7 to 14, and what have you? You know, you have all that coming across. And then you see a management process in which people are trying to say, okay, come, this is what me I'm selling. I'm selling, I want to run for local government chairman. I want to run for councillor. How will I go about it? You know, so you can go about trying to define marketing or the marketplace to some extent, however you want to do it. But all the basic underpinning of all of this is that there exists a problem to be solved. And then, being that a problem exists to be solved, there's somebody out there that has a product or service that can just solve that problem exactly. Or he believes that his candidacy is in existence to save the country, to save the local government, or to save the state, as the case may be, or to save that particular location and be a good voice in the State House of Assembly or in the National Assembly. Or, in a loose word, you have the right links and network. And so, because my father was the president, his younger brother was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, his in-law was the Senate president. This year, 2024, as somebody that's a direct descendant from all of them, I have the wherewithal to be able to also run for president when I become 23. And so, based on that, you believe you can come and run for office or strive to occupy a political position. Or you find individuals that say they have a passion to serve. Or you have somebody that people that say, okay, come, I think I finished university, I've looked for work, I didn't find any job. Let me just even enter this politics. After all, to become a local government councillor is a job. I go to work every day, they pay me salary, and I live fat on government's or on taxpayers' money. And so you see someone coming to run for office, not because he has a passion to serve, not because they even have anything to offer, but because they also see that as a means of livelihood. And I don't think this needs any further explanation with regards to our politics here in Nigeria, because it's obvious that some people here are in the political game as a means of livelihood. And so their utterings of political communication many a times seems amiss because they are basically not advancing any conversations that seem positive for the people. You know, so we talked about things that you can see in the marketplace product, and then this product has a price. And so when you talk about price, I talked about earlier about conventional media, where if you want to buy time on a satellite TV or terrestrial TV, it costs you more than buying time on radio. It costs you more than bulk SMS and what have you. Or you want to run for president, and the form for presidency in your party is 5 million. In some other parties, it's 5 million. In some parties, it's 2 million. In some, it's 1 million. Whichever way, you have a price you must pay, whether monetarily or non-monetarily. Non-monetary in the sense that we need to understand that in this time and age, anybody that gives you her time and energy actually puts value to that. And yes, it's not monetary, it cannot be exchanged for goods and services, but that is a thing of value and a price that is being paid. Then we talk about promotion. Like I spoke earlier, he who says what to whom, when, where, and with what effect. You can't strive to say you want to run for office of the president in Nigeria, and you actually tell me that you visited 774 local governments in your campaign. If you say that, then it means that your campaign wallet was indeed very robust. And I don't just mean visiting by driving through 704 local governments. You slept there for a day, did the full day campaign in each of the local governments in Nigeria. And as such, you have gone through the length and breadth of the country, Nigeria. And you believe that based on the conversations and the information you shared across those 704 local governments, you stand a chance to becoming the president of or the commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as it may be. You know, so when we talked about place, we talked about the social mediums, location, town halls, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. websites, or where exactly the mediums in which you are showcasing this information. So we've talked about the different types of bulking that we did for the platform: networking, video sharing, blogging, photo sharing, and microblogging. In going into further details, we want to look at Facebook, Instagram, X now, called Twitter before, LinkedIn. These are a few platforms that are easy. Luckily for us, these particular platforms, to create a profile there, you can create a profile for free, because those platforms have seen how they've been able to aggregate their servers to be able to engage you and to enable you share information as the case may be. So the basic broad underpinning of what you need to understand across these platforms is what are their corporate governance principles. Because if you go and share content that you do not have copyright to, it will be brought down. A famous one that came to bear is recent Gwagwagwa song by, I've forgotten the name of the particular artist, a song that is of old and was now reused, and in other words, repurposed alongside the dance step by a comedian. And the rights to those songs and the monies in which the monies that were accrued therein were rerouted back to the owner of the song who had the copyright for those services. So these are things that we need to make reference to. If you don't understand the corporate governance policies of that particular platform, you will use it wrongly, or your sweat and tears will be thrown to the wind, because, yes, in all honesty, you do not have the right to that information. Neither can you publish such information. And then you notice that there's some information that you publish, and then you notice the platform will target sensitive or insensitive information. And so you now need to know whether the post you do will be suitable for your location, for your country. If you notice that if you open Snapchat, there are some videos you see that you cannot hear the audio, because what you see is audio not allowed in this country. Or in the case of Nigerian music, luckily for us, Nigerian music, because the quest to have people streaming their information from multiple locations, they open up their content for geo-mobility, for anybody to cross post and access. But in overseas, most people do not allow that for their content. They just only allow it free, maybe for the United States and the state of Texas, Wyoming, Minnesota. But if you go to Dallas, you will not be able to access that particular content that is free in this other location. Next is, what type of information do you put there? What amount of text? What amount of pictures? We know before now, you can only post one picture on Instagram. But right now, you can do 10 pictures. And then not just 10 pictures now, you can create reels. Before it was 10 seconds, it rose to 30 seconds, it rose to 1 minute. And so even the owners of these platforms are what we call, they are evolving. And so if we think political communication is what I'm discussing today, is what it will be tomorrow, then I tell you that the information you have with yourself is obsolete. Like I said, in the electoral college class, what we basically want to arm you with is tools to bring you into markets. And then with your research, your optimism, your excitement, you go and seek further information. And then because you are in the college, you have the means to reach out to facilitators, reach out to the faculty, to be able to get more information before, or to improve on your knowledge base. So we're talking about the general goings-on of platforms. So if you do not understand the type of content to put on this platform, you will not be able to exploit the benefits effectively. So it's like going to a LinkedIn platform and posting 10 pictures. We all know that LinkedIn is a networking place and largely is the official social medium. And so you are not playing, you're not cracking jokes, you're just striving to project your character. The general underpinning of all the existence of all these platforms is that should you want to maintain a position on the digital web, to be in your best interest that you have handles or pages across all of these platforms. Because like I said, not everyone wants to be using Twitter and using Instagram. There are some people that only use Facebook and they don't use WhatsApp, they don't use Instagram, don't use Twitter. So it means if you put your information only on Facebook, a whole lot of people will not consume your information. So whatever it is you are trying to showcase, whatever narrative you are trying to control, it is your best interest to be able to do it across this platform. So now that you understand the corporate governance principles, how to make posts on these platforms, how to exploit them in doing live streaming, showcasing your information live, and the rest, the first question you need to ask is, why do you want to post on this platform? So the slide is questions to ask before posting on social media. Does this your plan update have value? Does it speak to your target audience or is ambiguous as the case may be? Is the topic or theme related to your work or what you are trying to showcase or the narrative you are trying to control? And then does this update match the best practices of the particular social network? Remember, we have already covered that in talking about understanding the corporate governance principles of the platforms in which you want to showcase your information. Because if you do not understand that part, you will not be able to use it effectively. And so, like I talked about earlier, you can't be wanting to run for a position of a state governor of Akwa Ibom State, and then all through your campaign, you are in the FCT visiting. Yes, it seems as though it's much, but you are visiting persons from Akwa Ibom descent that live in Abuja, when in the Akwa Ibom itself, you've not done any campaign. And so if that is what you are doing, or you are posting on social media, and then you are targeting places outside your demographic for people to consume your advert and promotions, then it means you are not speaking to your direct demographic to showcase whatever it is you want to do. So in trying to put that into further perspective, you need to have a social media strategy. And so, like I said earlier, in the electoral college, we're arming you with tools to market right away. And so if you are trying to run for office, even if you are not tech savvy, this class should be able to educate you to be able to understand and manage your media team. And so when they are telling you, sir, please, we need you to slow down. We need you to take a picture, talk to somebody and be snapping picture, or stop here and buy agbado, or stop here and collect pear and coconut and eat. So we'll take pictures. Or please, can you fold your shirt this way? Can you wear this particular type of canvas? Can you wear a blue tie? Can your shoe be a little bit scuffed? Can you wear farming clothes? And let's get into a farm. And you go and talk about your agricultural policies that you hope to implement when you become president or become governor. So you need to have a strategy in place. And so for our social media strategy, I put an infographic there for you to understand it better. When you have, you now need to prioritize objectives. When you prioritize your objectives, you now know what you are doing. Establishing governance is two-way. Understanding the platform in which you are using and what exactly are you standing for and how do you want to project it. Define the activities you want to do. And so because you are running for councillor in this particular ward, the ward is divided into 24 villages and you have 30 days to election or 30 days before campaign will be closed. You now take out your time and you visit those locations before the close of campaign days as stated by the election management body. While you're at that, you want to run for president. You do not understand public speaking. You do not know how to do public speaking. You don't have a right team. You develop your personal capacity and capabilities of your team. Measure and refine. Every single day you do your actions, it should be measured and reviewed. So you know whether you are doing some things right or some things wrong. You know, in the conversation process, you need to know that you need to engage this conversation so that, remember, we're talking about he who says what to whom, what effect. We are looking at the responsiveness and engagement level of you and the constituents, or you and that particular demographic. And so if you are not engaging to receive information, it is going to be a problem. In our earlier definition of communication, you know that there's a certain cycle in communication. The source of a message, a medium or a media in which this message is being expressed or channeled, and then a receiver. And then this receiver, upon consuming this information, now in turns becomes a source. In other words, because some information are meant to provoke a reaction, and then some information are meant to be consumed without any reaction whatsoever. So this broad underpinning lets you to know that communication is a cycle, CYCLE, and not CIRCLE. It's a cycle, the continuum, flux and change, behavioral patterns, non-verbal, verbal, as the case may be. So if you understand your social media strategy, therein you'll be able to draw out the returns of investment or the basic positives or pros and cons of the actions you have taken, because you have tools in which to be able to draw this information. You have social reporting tools, analytics. Luckily for us, most of these social mediums, they have analytical tools where you'll be able to see how many people liked your post, how many people played your video, how many people watched your reel, how many people were tuned into your live broadcast on YouTube, how many people were tuned into your live on TikTok, how many people gave you gifts on Instagram, super chat on YouTube while you are live, or while you are live and broadcasting, or how much did you make using the YouTube live platform. Recently, the media was agog with one of the churches in Nigeria where the principal made a whole ton of money, and it was seeming like a shock to people, not knowing that that is actually what the platform is for. Should you exploit the platform positively or negatively, as the case may be, the more views you get, the more money you make. Because right now, our platforms have now been equipped for monetization in Nigeria, unlike before that you have to use an agency overseas to be able to monetize your page. So largely that one we just call those ones social commerce. But remember, that's not what we're after in this case, because we're in the political space. We're looking at how we can share information, how that information can be consumed, how you can wield power, hold power, attract more power, and stay in power. That is basically what you are thinking about every single step of your political communication process. We're in page 25. So, tools for social listening. We have food, suit, brand mentions, melt water. The internet it's amiss with a whole lot of platforms that you can use to get your social analytics. But let's leave that on the hand. Remember, we're talking about political communication, and it's information moving from a source to a receiver, and it can also come back again. And remember, we define political communication as he who says what to whom, when, where, and with what effect. The first thing, and we remember also we spoke about psychology being the background or the underpinning before you make a conversation, or before you make a planned update, or before you create narratives. And so the first questions, just like we also talked about, before you make any updates, does it have value? Is how do you even speak? When do you have to talk? Who exactly are you talking to? What mannerisms are you using to do these conversations? What medium exactly are you using to express these conversations? And then how are you indeed are you reactionary? Are you progressive? Are you empathetic? Are you diplomatic? Remember, all of these behavioral patterns, psychological attributes, psychological traits, all govern or color how you make a conversation. And so if I'm standing beside you and you lost a loved one, the first thing I'm supposed to do is to be empathetic. So I needed to have studied the environment, understood what is at stake, and speak to that situation as it is supposed to be. I'm not supposed to communicate amiss. And so in that state, I'll be empathetic. Or is it a case in where Ife and Modakeke are having crisis and fighting each other? And you are coming because you want to be a go-between or you want it solved? You obviously not come as a reactionary person to make a particular type of character in trying to showcase what exactly you are trying to put out for people to see, hear, know, and understand. And so, hence, remember why we spoke about concept of psychology in political communication. So Now that we have all that in place, I do not expect that anybody will come and then now start having conversation amiss, like I spoke earlier on. You will need to understand and speak drawing from the subject matter in question. So now, another sphere of conversations that is always missed out, how politicians and the electorate communicate. You see, we have talked about how conversations go through, but we have not dealt into the nitty-gritty of how we are actually supposed to manage the conversations between the politicians and the electorate. And so for start, the general practice one is a political party. We do not have independent candidates in Nigeria. As such, should you want to run for office in Nigeria, you must do it through a political party. Or should you and 5 people believe that these are your ideals and this is what you stand for, and because you are citizens in Nigeria, you have a right to convene, your right to express your information. You now say, okay, you want to form a green party. And what are people doing in that green party? You are following the ideals of the Sustainable Development Goals, or you want to form a Labour Party, or you want to form an Action Congress, or you want to form a People's Labour Party. All of this, as constitutionally allowed, it can only happen when you go and register a political party. And what is a political party? A political party doesn't just exist in isolation. Luckily for me, before I ran for office, I was alongside a team that built the Alliance for New Nigeria. And I can assure you that the INEC laid down guidelines for establishment of political parties is painstaking. And so I can beat my chest and tell you for free that all political parties in Nigeria have ideology. Yes, now we come to the argument about it. In practice, do they follow the ideology? That's none of INEC's business. But when you are registering that political party, by God, you must submit a unique manifesto of your party and your ideology that is not same with one that exists before or with one that is presently registered and in active use. Same with the logo, your team, or your catchphrase, whatever it is you're doing, your political party will have a unique perspective. So you now talk about the political process in itself. What is the political process? Remember, we're talking about how the electorate communicate with the politicians. Political process, we talk about election or the electioneering phase. The electioneering phase starts with, first of all, registering to vote. Before you register to vote, you need to be of age 18 years, which is the universally accepted franchise age for you to vote and be voted for in Nigeria. And so you must be 18, you register to vote or be voted for, you go and register in a party or you are not a member of a party regardless, because in Nigeria to vote, we do not have broad strokes like in some advanced democracies where you have Democrats, liberals, and Republicans. Here we just have political parties, and interestingly, we are a very unique set of people that we cross carpet without thinking. Luckily for us, the recent amendments to the Electoral Act has been able to manage all of this such that we do not continue to jump up and down. Right now, it holds that for any person that occupies any position, that seat belongs to the party and not to you, Kevin Akoji. And so tomorrow, if you feel that you are in party A and you feel that today that you woke up, you are supposed to be in party B. In short, you feel that you are in party B already. You as the individual can go to party B. But that seat that won an electoral position will not just abdicate to party B just because you feel like the campaign. You know, we have the processes of recall. We have the process of a referendum. Remember, we are practicing a democratic government in Nigeria. And so all of our conversations that I'm talking to you now or sharing is in the light of a duly democratical process, not a military regime, not a socialist government, not a capitalist system of government, as the case may be. We have another means which politicians and electorate communicate with each other via means of a town hall meeting. These town hall meetings can take place in constituencies, in you trying to break down and express your information to these places, or you have ward meetings as the main case may be, or Remember, we're talking about the digital age, wherein we have conversations that can be expressed via emails, via calls, via bulk SMSs. And so you see dramas or issues coming up, and then the phone number of your senator representing your constituency is published in the internet, and they say everybody call your senator. Why is it that the excess crude money that has come to our own constituency, we cannot see it, but these people in this particular constituency, you can see them building roads, doing this and doing that, or you are sending information to your governor. What is happening? Kaduna North is completely ignored in the spheres of things. Or so these are patterns or processes in which you can communicate with the electorate. Recently, thanks to the End Bad Governance protest, as it was termed, we saw that part of the optics of it was in some particular states. I'm sure we are not new to that. The letters written to INEC requesting for a recall of their representative in the National Assembly. So these are ways in which you can engage the politicians in conversation in trying to basically exploit the communication process. And so nobody is a lord to himself in the communication process. It's either you choose to engage the conversation with people or they will leave you alone. And so that is what we have basically in trying to understand the idea of wielding power, the idea of holding power, the idea of controlling a narrative, the idea of building a narrative, the idea of safeguarding a narrative, the idea of consistently showcasing a narrative for people to understand who you are, what you are saying, what you stand for, and what you hope to be in the nearest future, as the case may be. In the light of this, it is past 6 p.m. I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you all that political communication is necessary for survival. You cannot do without it, even if you are a doctor, pharmacist, lawyer, or politician, if you call yourself that, or in whatever sphere of influence, it must come to bear. Thank you, and thank you very, very much. Hello, Administrator, are you there? I'm done with my class, and so I'm expecting us now to go into the dialectical materialism part of the class, where we exchange conversations via question and answers. Okay, who do we have on sit? Charlia, are you there? Lisa, are you on this call?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I'm done. We're moving to question and answer now.
Yes, thank you, sir, for the brilliant presentation on communication in politics and in general life, sir. It's always very informative and educative, sir. Students, I believe that all of us, we've learned one or two things, and we have areas where we need to dot our I's and cross our T's in terms of questions. So we are in questions and answers now. Kindly drop your questions on the chat box, or you raise your hand up, and then we would unmute, or allow you to unmute and ask your questions. So who goes first?
If I may start with Titilayo Additional dropped a message in the Zoom chat stating what cross-carpeting still happens among the elected candidates. So this is the thing. It takes an uninformed elected officer to make a mistake. And we have a typical case in play in Rivers State, wherein all the members of the House, or will I say, two-thirds majority, decamped to another party. And in their excitement and party and in all that they were all glamorous about, their seats were declared vacant by another camp. And it seems as though they're all trying to flex their powers, not knowing that they are decamping to another party and forgetting that they got to those seats under a particular vehicle. And so by attempting to decamp, their seats were rendered vacant. And so they had to go to court or whatever it is they did, and they have now come back to their original party. These are the recent amendments to the Electoral Act. So you do not come and make a rubbish of the system. So that is what we refer to. So it seems as though they are cross-carpeting, but that no longer takes place in Nigeria due to the reforms of the recent Electoral Act. So do you have any other question? I'm still reading through the chats.
All right.
To see if you have any other questions.
No, there are just comments on the chat now. No more questions, but there are hands up, sir.
Okay, so yeah, moderate the hands now so we can.
Okay, let's Matthew Samuel, can you unmute and ask your question? Matthew Samuel.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, sir. Thank you for the brilliant presentation. I know that political communication or communication is very, very important in politicking in any climate. But my question is that in Nigeria, as a case study, people vote for party loyalty rather than communicating the manifestos that's supposed to be convincing people, that's supposed to direct where to cast their vote. It's like people have, it's like they follow party structure, if your party did not have structure, no matter how you communicate your vision, your mission, you will not have votes. My question is that how can we entrench political communication to convince people to vote for parties that have policies that will address challenges or problems rather than just vote because they belong to that party? Thank you so much.
Okay, so this particular question now is a hard nut to crack because you now see the whole idea of civil liberties coming into play. Everybody has a right to do or not, a right to association, a right to vote or not to vote, as the case may be, a right to vote this party or not this party. So that is why it behoves on the stakeholders to showcase their positions and processes or their policies or manifesto or electoral pledge, as the case may be, for people to consume. In as much as we have 1 million people, at least in that 1 million people, you might have 2 right-thinking persons that will take informed decisions on where they are going to sway their votes. And in the light of that, they'll be able to sway 2 other or 3 other persons. Because let me just give you an advanced democracy's perspective. We have in the US where you have liberals or Democrats and you have Republicans. And you see somebody that is a Democrat and then the person gives birth to children. And even from when they are being year 1, they are being indoctrinated into growing up to be Democrats. Though we have a unique case in point now happening in this Trump and Kamala Harris election, whereby a Republican is actually on the campaign trail, openly voting and projecting a Democratic candidate, and ending with the byline for God and country, as we always use in the Electoral College, that people should no longer look across political party lines, but should look across the existence of their country, the United States of America, her presence and her future. So we can't largely control that particular narrative of telling people they should only vote for good people. Remember, good people is relative. What is good to you is terrible to another person. Or what is good to you might just be half measure to another person. So the best you could do is how much of the narrative can you put out there and how much can you control it? And then by the time you have projected this narrative, how many people have even consumed this information? Because if you sit down in your house now, print 1 million flyers or 1 million leaflets about a particular conversation and you do not share it, it means your conversation has not gone anywhere. It means you just started the conversation and still kept the flyers in your house. But if you pick the flyers and you go to the streets and you share these flyers out to the particular demographic that it needs to be shared in, then you have started your conversation in the right perspective by carrying your conversation or your information to the right people that are supposed to consume it. So that's the best we can say about this. But there's no fixed rule about telling people who they should go and vote and they should stick to doing that. because of XYZ reason. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, sir. Obi Godwin, your hand is up. Can you unmute and ask your question?
All right. Thank you so much, moderator. Thank you. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for your very insightful lecture on political communication. My question is, when we talk about political communication, as you said, although I also stand to be corrected, but from what I heard, you said psychology is the bedrock of political communication. And of course, there's no way in political communication you would talk about communicating with your audience or your targeted audience without the influence of psychology. And then when you use the influence of psychology, it's also narrowed down to propaganda. So my question is coming in this aspect, and because we know that when you're using psychology, it has a lot of propaganda. And in propaganda, we have black, white, or gray propaganda, as the case may be. And it even narrowed down to a lot of them. So my question is, at what point do we need to use propaganda in communicating our manifestos or ideas or whatever our intentions to the office is to the people? Because I know that politicians do not have a bridge where they say, okay, no, this time let's call it spare a spare. This time let's say what people want to hear. And in most cases, like Nigeria as a case study, most of the time there is no end to their propaganda because they come telling us this, that, and all of that, and at the end of the day, they do nothing. Some even deny their manifestos on cases that are well recorded, and even in the last administration, the manifestos that they used was denied. So I don't know at what point, as we now who are intended to correct this system, at what point do we supposed to use our propaganda? And at what point should we limit the use of our propaganda just to reduce the psychological influence on our voters? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so you start with what is the definition of propaganda. If I may just draw from a dictionary definition, is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote a political cause or point of view. So first, you're expressing a biased information. And so, in all honesty, if 3 people are running for offices and they're all from the same local government, they're going to express biased information because they are talking from their own point of view, trying to showcase their own personality. So already there's an inherent propaganda already in play. Then the part of misleading. So it now behoves on us as the individual consuming that information to ensure that you do not consume fake news. So luckily for us in 2024, or in the past 4 years, we've seen civil society organizations, even the election management body, INEC, coming out strongly with regards to dispelling fake news and propaganda. And then also, you as an informed individual, why will you just see information and then you will not clarify? And then you now go and you publish it. So we are having this class now. It's an information sharing session. Let's call it what it is. And so with the information that we have shared here, I don't even expect you to take it hook, line, and sinker. I expect that you, as an informed mind, should be able to also research further to reconfirm, was I even saying the truth or was I lying? That is the whole idea of the process called dialectical materialism. It's not just for you to sit down and someone comes and force feeds you or force feeds an idea into your head. No. The process is such that you can be able to engage the process. Remember, when talking about political communication, we're saying the crux of the matter of political communication is responsiveness and engagement. And so if there's no responsiveness, there's no engagement, then the political communication is amiss. So propaganda will always come to bear. And so it now lies in the 3 different parties that are running for office to showcase the information they want to do, lie about me, defame my character, but I exist. And so if you are defaming my character, I'll be out there also too on those mediums in which it used to defame my character. To protect my character too. And the cycle continues. So that is basically what we have in play.
Thank you, sir.
I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Thank you, sir. Bigodin, drop your hand. The next person that we have here is Samsedin Saloko. Please unmute and ask your question. Keep it short and straight to the point. There are others on the queue. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Thank you for the insightful session. Please, my question is very short and precise. I just want you to enlighten us more with the most important line of communication during electioneering period between the party publicity secretary and the aspirant or candidate spokesman. Thank you.
So the challenge you are having now, you are in a psychological state that you want an absolute answer. So why you cannot get an absolute answer is because, unfortunately for us, the field of political communication is in social science, behavioral change, behavioral communication, behavioral engagement.
Yes,
remember, each of the stakeholders have their own role to play.
Yes,
the political party stands for itself, and they are projecting a democratic ideal, or they are projecting a socialist ideal, or they are projecting a Republican ideal. And so anybody coming to run for office inside that particular party would demonstrate a trait or a mannerism that is not of the party. You hear these words like he's exhibiting anti-party behavior.
Yes, sir.
And so when he's exhibiting anti-party behavior, it behoves on the party now to call him to order. And then if the party is not living true to her ideology as put in by their manifesto or their pledge via INEC, it behoves on you, that is a card-carrying member of that party, to call your party to order and say, this is not how our party moves. I've been in this party for 10 years and we do not do like this. This is how we do it. So you are drawing from history, you are drawing from information, you are drawing for some level of fact. And so there's no indeed fixed point of saying the particular line of communication should be only from the National Public Secretary of the party, because whether we like it or not, we have seen that in Nigeria, we have an overbearing conversation of monetics and not politics. And so because we have monetics, he who pays the piper dictates the tune at every single time. And so I've come to this party, I've bought the entire structure of the party. I am now the political office holder. And so if the party chairman comes to me and is trying to tell me, no, we don't do this in the party, I'll tell him, shut up. I just gave you 5,000 yesterday. And day before yesterday, I gave you 10,000. And I bought you a G. Who are you to come and talk to me? So you see now, the independence of that chairman, party chairman, has already been eroded because he stooped to conquer. So there's basically no direct line of communication. It all needs to be exploited. And then the entire portfolio of constant action relations is what brings out the best bread. Just like in baking bread, you have water, butter, flour, baking soda, eggs, yeast. All of them look as if they have no value, but there's no way you can bake a cake without baking soda or without yeast, because all of them have their own value. So you need to understand the value everybody brings to the table and use them as such, albeit in a positive way and not misleading as in the case of propaganda like discussed earlier.
Thank you, sir. Before we come back to you, Matthew, because you have asked another question, let me go to the chat box and take a few questions from there. And from the chat box, sir, Jackson Abraham is asking, whose responsibility is it to replace an elected candidate? Is it the political party or the INEC?
Okay, you've answered the question already. To replace a candidate or to replace an individual, like I spoke about earlier, we only have one vehicle to assume or to enter office in Nigeria. There's no independent candidates, and that is through a political party. And so if in the case of death or in the case of abdication of role, or for whatever reason a candidate ceases to be a candidate, it behaves on the political party to do their re-election or whatever they want to do and arrive at new person that will now be the ones to hold the reins of power and then walk them through the election to win whatever role they want to play. So it's always the political party. INEC is only served as a medium to be served. You tell them, okay, oh, we are doing this, just like the normal electioneering process. When it's time to run for office, the different parties hold primaries. And INEC as a stakeholder and as a state stakeholder is invited to come and observe the primaries. If INEC is not there to observe your primaries, if anything should come up of that primaries, it will not be seen as illegal. It will be seen as null and void because INEC was not there to observe the primaries. So you need to also understand the role of the election management body to be able to manage her effectively and use her for the positive roles in which she's supposed to play in the ecosystem, as the case may be. So at all and every time, it is the party that determines who replaces anybody, or who presents anybody, or who becomes a flag bearer, or who comes to run for office for whatever reason. INEC does not dictate for any reason. They are an election management body, and they have their own roles and duties.
Thank you, sir. Feishola Balogun is asking, sir, you enumerated how to engage politicians and electorate with the electorate, which you mentioned by emails and by calls. But my question is, some politicians don't make their contact public rather than it private for security purposes. How do we engage them? Thank you.
So luckily for us, some well-thinking politicians have constituency offices. If they do not have constituency offices, they have constituency representatives. Yes, we understand why they do not want to make their phone numbers or their contacts public, but there's a limit in which the Freedom of Information Clause bears upon them to give some level of information that we can use to reach them. And so if you go to the National Assembly website, you see where is written contacts of your legislators, and you see their name, a particular email address, a phone number, and a supposed constituency office. If it exists or not, that is a question for another day. But those informations must be presented at all times before you come and occupy any position in the National Assembly. Same it is in the State House of Assembly. You need to present information that people can engage you with. That is why we say, do not get frustrated. If you do not have their email address, but you have his phone number, send him a text or send him a call. If you don't have his phone number, but you know his constituency office, go to his constituency office. You have different mediums in which to express your information or your ideations. Or are they on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram? You send them a DM, or you do a post and tag them to bring the post to their attention by mentioning, and then you continue building from there. So there's basically there's nothing to it. And then if you don't have all of this, then you pay them a physical visit to their location. And in the case of the National Assembly, it's just right here in the Abuja. You can't miss it. You go, you fix for an appointment, and you go to see your legislator. Yes, there's drama to even get into the National Assembly, but we are getting there. But you must start from somewhere. Same with visiting your governor. You know where the government house is. If you see that they don't want to attend to you, you go and file a case in the police station that you want to protest. Two of you stand on the road, hold the placard, so that when the governor's entourage is driving into the state house, they see two people holding a placard. Mr. Governor, we want you to listen to us, or this is what we want to say. And then you have advanced your communication, and then you build from there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Before you go, let me just this one. Samuel, he said, there's a narrative about politics that politics is a dirty game. This is to imply that one has to be a good liar, cunning, and sharp person to make a good politician. As such, people consider themselves with high moral standing to avoid politics altogether. What has been your personal approach to politics, and what would you suggest to correct the narrative? So, there's the way Kunle puts it. I've forgotten how he puts it, but he says one of the greatest lies that the devil has tried to advance is that God does not exist. So I don't know if you're a theologian or you're a person of religion, but ponder on those words. Does God actually exist? Or you think it is a Big Bang theory that brought about the earth? Or you think that it was a proclamation of a supreme being? But that's not what we're going to discuss now. And so one of the greatest lies that politicians try to advance to make sure that people do not engage in the idea of politics is telling people that it is a dirty game. Yes, it is a dirty game. In football, is there no dirty? Is there no hard tackle in basketball? Or don't you see them using yellow cards and green cards or red cards? Or do you think a yellow card is a pat on the back if you do something wrong in the football field, or a red card means, you have extra 90 minutes. Even if these people warn you in this game, you have extra 90 minutes to play. No. And so, yes, some anomalies might come in. I don't want to use the adjective dirty because the adjective dirty is largely seen in a derogatory manner. And so I'm not game for that. I'm a progressive speaker. I'm a progressive person. And so I say, yes, some anomalies can come in. And then propaganda can be put in place like we discussed earlier. And so if someone is expressing propaganda and trying to mislead people, put out information to showcase that the person is lying. And then so minus, as mathematicians call it, you have a plus. And then you advance to the next level of conversation. So yes, it's dirty. But if instead of saying it's dirty, I would even prefer to even use the basic challenge of money to be the concern or the crux of the matter, and not even the dirty part of the game. Because unfortunately for us, we are existing in a system whereby even ordinary alumni elections into position are being met with high money for form. And the last time I checked, an alumni election is for volunteers to come and lead the course of conversation of a particular set of graduates of a school. It's supposed to be a thankless job. But if a thankless job, I'm coming and I'm buying an alumni election form for 1 million naira to become the alumni president, you already know what is coming, because I need to recover my 1 million by cash, kind, or whatsoever. And so you know you have already, in theory and practice, you have created a problem that begs for a solution already. So the dirty game will always seem as if it's there, but if the people that are good do not come and occupy positions of power, who will continue to lead the people that are good? Dumb people. And so if you are there in your self-righteous and high-handed state, and you believe you are a good person, and you sit down there, then the rules and actions of bad people, as the case may be, will continue to govern you, and you continue to suffer under their yoke, because you have let yourself to be, you have succumbed to the existence or to the leadership of bad people. And so the clarion call is, which is why we're having this conversation in the electoral college class, to educate you, to incite you to understand the process, such that you do not just sit back. Okay, yes, you do not want to run for office because you don't have the money to buy the form, but you can be a good citizen by standing out there and standing for right living. And so if you are in the polling unit and you sit out come and take up the ballot box, you stand there and you protect your mandate. It's called mandate protection. Why is that? When touts come, all the people on the line to vote just take off. Don't you know you also have a civic responsibility to stand there and even protect the law enforcement officers, as the case may be, or the election management representatives there, the polling officers and the polling clerks there, to ensure that they do their job effectively? Instead, you turn the other way and you run away. So is it the poor person trying to save his life and then a few ballot papers that you want to secure both of that together? No. And so this dirty game, yes, we even agree, it's a dirty game. I'm a good person. I'm entering that dirty game. Let us change the game that is called dirty to good, and we advance from there. That is my own 2 cents. So with regards to the whole idea of dirty game or not. So it's now left for you also to apply your own understanding and see how we can basically be all progressive, as the case may be, and make sure that we birth a new Nigeria that we'll be proud of, a Nigeria that our children and children yet unborn will come in and exist in, and they'll also be proud of. I hope I answered you.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for that brilliant one. Abu Garba is asking, how can we checkmate the issue of religious sentiments in our present political atmosphere?
So religion, that's a big one. So there's what we call primordial and prebendal sentiments that will always come to bear with regards to decision making. Certain things color people's imaginations. Religion, especially in the tropics and especially in West Africa, plays a very big role in how people think or what models their thinking process to make decisions or to engage in certain reactions. And so I'll use the word, the control should not come from you that is a member of that particular political, religious organization. There's good and there's bad. It's right there in front of you. And so if you pray morning, afternoon, and night, and you see somebody on the street being robbed of his rights, you can walk up there and correct that wrong right there and then. You don't need to be in a church mosque or to be in a babalawo place, stand there, then you now be holy, and it's only when they are doing something wrong in church mosque or somewhere that you now tell people, no, don't do this, this is injustice. But when you're outside, it's a different rule you are being led by. No. So it starts from you that is a member of that religious organization. That is one. Then two, individuals of influence in that religious organization. So you're looking at priests, you're looking at imams, you're looking at deacons, or whatever name of graduation they want to put themselves. They also, remember, do not just occupy those positions amiss. In many cases, they must have gone through training. In many cases, they are also responsible to some persons in a certain level of hierarchy. And so until everybody plays their role, it's going to be a very big challenge. And the whole idea of religion will not be able to lead us in a progressive state. Remember, in talking about the theory of structural functionalism, we have structures, and all the structures have different functions. And so if all the structures are performing their functions effectively, we are going to have a firm structure and we'll be moving towards progress. And so if the religious organizations do not understand their role and the influence they play in managing the psychological state of people and how it informs how they create or model their decisions, then we are headed to doom as this way. So that's all I can say. It's a very dicey topic, unfortunately for us in this part of the world, but the truth must be said at every time. But I will say we are learning, we are progressing, we are advancing, and we won't stop today. At least we still have people of right thinking manner, rational, and all that exists in polity that will be able to still extend the olive branch in the case of a fight, advance the right information in the case of fake news or information dissemination and what have you. So, like I said, this is just my own 2 cents. I do not claim monopoly of knowledge in this particular subject.
Thank you, sir. From Henry Akwe, what is the importance of non-verbal communication in political interactions?
So, in my earlier conversation, you notice I talked about someone running for office, and because he wants to go and talk to farmers, he needs to dress like a farmer. Or because he wants to go and address people in the Labour Congress, he has to dress as not like a bourgeoisie, as the Marxist theorists call it. You need to dress like one of them. So these are non-verbal cues. And in trying to understand non-verbal cues, I even went further to talk about in your communication, are you reactionary, progressive, empathetic, or diplomatic? So these are the non-verbal cues that come to bear in political communication. Without them, your communication will either be met by ambiguity first. It will either be met with ambiguity, or people will not understand exactly what you are trying to showcase, or what particular narrative you are trying to control, or what exactly you stand for, as the case may be. So non-verbal cues play a very large role. I own a media company, and I understand when individuals are talking about, this is my brand, this is what we stand for. And so you see Nike with a tick, and their motto says, just do it. What are they selling? Are they selling motivation? Or are they selling exercise? Or are they selling brand? Are they selling canvas? Obviously, what Nike is trying to showcase, or what Nike is selling, is you can be better than your now. And so instead of waiting tomorrow to become 40 kg because you're 70 kg, start it today. Just do it. And so the symbol of that particular thing on a canvas, on a t-shirt, is just to inspire. I have hope, I can do this, I can do that, and then you build from there. So non-verbal cues play a very large role in political communication and in communication as a whole. I hope I've answered your question. So, like I said earlier on,
thank you, sir.
The Electoral College.
Okay.
We can never finish or exhaust the questions and answer session, which is why we exist as the college.
There's just only one.
Information.
Okay, the person has even dropped his hand.
Okay. You can always send your information through your class governor, or you can reach us via email, or you can contact Lisa, and you can be able to send your questions to us, and we'll be able to address you. And then remember, the Electoral College is a mentoring platform wherein we are hoping that we are together in this conversation. And so we are not planning to educate you with all of this information and then leave you to the wolves, as society calls it. We are with you in this conversation. We've been in existence for over close to 10 years, and we're in the game of literacy and good governance, and we will still be here, God helping us. So please feel free to reach out at any time for any information or clarification.
Thank you, sir. There are no more questions on the chat box, and there's no hand up again. So on behalf of the college, I want to express a very big thank you to you for showing up and then delivering a very informative lecture. Students, yes, you've all heard it. Go to the field and make disciples of the Electoral College. So thank you. I let everybody on mute and thank our facilitator. Don't forget that tomorrow we have our classes continuing. Be on class in time and ensure you register your attendance. Unmute and thank our facilitator so we can close. Thank you.
Class.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you
We really
very
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you very
Sir.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
Mr.
you.
Thank you,
Kevin.
sir.
for
Really,
that.
So we
yeah,
can
thank you, Mr. Kevin, for this insightful lecture.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kevin Akwede, for the very insightful class. And thank you everyone for coming out today. So see you all tomorrow. Have a lovely night rest. Bye. So I can end the class. Thank you.